Hi, Auntie, and welcome to Always Aligning. I am so thrilled to have the Hindu grandmother here on the show with us.
My pleasure. It really is wonderful, Ashika, that you're doing this, and I'm excited to chat with you today.
Same. I mean, I want to first and foremost just say I think it's such a pleasure that you are doing the work that you're doing because there are so many people out there like myself where we have been born and raised with the Hindu traditions and cultures, but we don't know much. And, maybe it's our parents didn't know much, or maybe they taught us things and then we moved on from the houses and we've forgotten. And now, as we are growing up and we're having our own children, there's curiosity and also a desire to really connect with the traditions that we've been practicing. So I remember growing up, my parents would always say, just do this, and I would say, but kya hai? Why am I doing this? And they would say, we don't know, just do it. So now there is this curiosity, and of course we're in the information era, right? So we can access all of this. So when I found your account, a friend of mine actually shared it with me. I was like, oh, this is the resource that we need. So before I even dive into this conversation, you have to tell us a little bit about yourself and the journey that you've been on, which, you beautifully shared with me. You're also a Hindu pundit, so much to unpack, but just give us a little quick on who you
Yeah.
are and what you do and how did you find yourself here on the internet as the Hindu grandmother.
Everything very, very accidental, I remember when I was a child, if you look at my palm, I'm not a big palmist person, but somebody told me that I'll have really no control over my life and it's going to do what it wants. I didn't understand it then, but it is exactly what has happened. Things just happened to me, So to tell you a little bit, I started out actually as an engineering student at IIT Bombay, when that's my undergraduate. But all along, I come from a religious family, and I was very fascinated with the scriptures all along. My grandfather happens to be the was at that time the executive officer of the Sri Padmanabha temple in Trivandrum, which is one of the biggest and today very well-known temples
Right.
in India. So I grew up with a lot of information on rituals and prayers and all of that, and I also was very accidentally fortunate that my public school, Kendriya Vidyalaya, had Sanskrit as a language. It was taught to us from grade fourth. Later, they changed that program, but from then, I had it. And also, accidentally, I learned Bharatanatyam. So all these things kind of, I think, first when I came, after I graduated from IIT, I came to do my master's in America. And when I came here, I thought I would pursue none of my other passions, whether that is Bharatanatyam, whether, even prayers and all that. At that time, there were no temples when I got here, not as
Right.
many. I mean, there were a few, very few and far between. So I thought that's actually behind me. And later, what happened was when my child was born, I had a daughter, so I was able to, I wanted to bring Bharatanatyam to her. And this ended up that I started to teach. So
Right.
I really, learned a lot. And so along the way, I also am a Tamilian, married to a Punjabi, and my husband doesn't come with that knowledge that I did, So I started to do some pujas, for other people who were like him, who didn't, quite have that same ritualistic and religious background that I did. And
Right.
so, when you start doing that kind of prayers, when you start teaching, as a Bharatanatyam teacher, I started to learn so much. And I had a passion for this anyway. So it just drew me in even more and more and more. And finally, what happened was that there was a friend of ours whose, Indian child was marrying another Indian, but they didn't want an Indian wedding because they said we can't understand what the priest is saying. So, and
Mm.
then, the family obviously asked, can I convince them to have an Indian wedding? Because both parents wanted it. And the kids were also, I mean, it was not that they were against it. They just wanted to understand what's going on. So this took me on the journey to actually train to become a person, a purohit who can perform the sanskaras, because obviously I didn't learn how to do weddings or, other those kind of sanskars, like naming a child or graha pravesham and things like that. And I was very honored that in the Gayatri Parivar tradition, they allow everybody to be a Purohit. And I was happy to get that training from Gayatri Parivar, which is led by Param Pujya Gurudev Pandit Sri Ram Sharma Acharya. So I have done now, I think, about 40 Arangetams. and
Oh wow.
41 weddings. So,
Oh
and it
wow.
has been a joy because I think it just, if I think what I am, I sometimes think of myself as a Rosetta Stone, right? Just translating from something to something more familiar in a way that I can convey. And then it came to this, then I had a grandchild, and obviously, just like any grandma, I really wanted her to have all the traditions. And my children, my daughter and my son-in-law did too. And so we were, but they had the same question that you did, which is, where are the resources? How can we do it? Give us the resources that make sense to us. So many of the
Yeah.
books, many of the things were very much India based, India oriented. And so then what I did first was to write a book, for my granddaughter's first birthday. I wrote a book
Wow.
called My First Home. So kind of learning from my daughter and son-in-law how to reach an audience, a current, present day audience. And so that was fun. But then my daughter said, this is not the way to reach a large audience. It was a lot of work. I mean, to write about Om for a 1 year old was a very interesting experience. And so then she said, Mom, you got to get on social media.
Mm.
And I was like, social media, that's not me. I don't do that. I was not on Instagram. And anyway, so she came, and she and her friends, who were all in the same position that you are, that is, they're having children, and they were like, Auntie, you got to do this. And then they said, give it a try. And I was like, I'm not ready for it. But it started then, and I am so amazed at the response I have got. I mean, as I think now, on Instagram, I have nearly 185,000 followers, and it was something. I
No big
know.
deal, Auntie. No big
No,
deal.
no, I don't mean to be saying it like that, but
Oh, I mean, it's incredible. I think you've done this in what, like 6 months or
yeah,
so. It's
yeah.
huge.
It is. I mean, I didn't start out to do that. Exactly. My point was
Yeah.
that it was, I really wanted to spread the message, and which,
Yeah.
I'm very passionate about spreading the message. And I really feel that if God has me to play this role, to bring this,
Mm.
and, I'm so touched, as you said, right? When you saw some of the videos, I think you mentioned this. I get these comments all the time that people are learning more about their culture, feeling more connected to the Hindu traditions, and I think in India we did it by osmosis because everybody was around. It
You're
just
right.
became part of your nature.
Second
But
nature.
yeah, but now I'm realizing even in India that's not the case like it was when I was growing up. So
Right.
it's been a real pleasure and an honor. So here I am.
Wow, what a story. I mean, now I feel like I need to do like 10 episodes just with you, Auntie, to break things down because you have touched upon one is what my show really started all about. It's called Always Aligning because I believe when you align with your purpose, right, you truly live the most authentic and best life for yourself. And it sounds like you have found your purpose, right? You have fully aligned with it. Your purpose of being the culture bearer or an educator, being a change maker, being somebody who's growth oriented and learning and then sharing that wisdom and passing it forward. So we've talked about that. We've talked about reinvention for you to put yourself on social media, despite you saying that that's not for me, so giving yourself that confidence and the courage, which is huge. And I just think constantly being agile and flexible. I mean, it's like you had a problem and you set out to solve it. It's like entrepreneurship 101 essentially. So this is incredible. Thank you for the
Mhm.
work that you do. Like you said, your videos there is a lot of information. I'm sure there's a lot of work that goes into it, but we need that message. And I think we need it more than ever before because I almost feel like things are going to start going backwards, right? So there was this generation, like our parents' generation, they came here, they were focused on their work. They couldn't, and they were focused on assimilating, on figuring
Mhm.
out what is America, how do we make it here, or whatever other foreign country they went to. Now their children, us, we are benefiting from, right, the fruits of their labor. We have more time, more interest, more curiosity to say, but where did we come from? And
Mhm.
who are we? And like, let's explore that. And why do we do this? And what does this mean? So there is this hunger and quench for knowledge,
Yeah.
which it's ironically, even though there's so much information out there, sometimes it's hard to get that.
Yeah.
Um, and like you said, maybe back in India in the before days, everybody did it, so people just learned by watching and doing and talking. And here we really have to step out of our homes and really make time for these things,
Mhm.
which is also hard for modern day life or modern day families when
Yeah.
there's so much going on. So let's dive into it. We have Diwali just about 1 week away,
Mhm.
questionable on the date, whether it's the 31st or the 1st. So, what we know Diwali is the festival of lights,
Yeah.
but what are we actually celebrating?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Before that, I'll say something. I think I always encourage people to not think about traditions as something separate from life. Hinduism
Mm,
is never that, right? Like you don't need to go to church on Sunday. You do it every minute, every day. So I think that is something we've got to go back to. Unfortunately, I think we were, obviously, migrated. We are living in a different place where, you know, there's no coconuts now. They are available, but for a long time it was hard to find coconuts, right? Like
right.
but and also, Hindu traditions are very agile, themselves very flexible. Hinduism is a framework, right? And
Yeah.
unfortunately people focus on the coconut rather than the message. So I think it's important for us to go back, and Hinduism, I think, is the one place where you can do it.
Yeah.
You understand the dharma, and so make it part of your life. Don't take time out to be Hindu. Be
Yeah.
Hindu every minute of the day. Every time you breathe, you are Hindu. So
I
I
mean, so
want,
well said. It is a philosophy. So, when you say be Hindu every minute of the day, what does that mean?
yeah. So I think it is to understand the dharma that you have, right? What is the purpose in of life in Hinduism? Very simple. It is to manifest the divinity that is in you. What does
Mm,
that mean? It means to connect to the divine all the time, right? Like, and God, God, Devi, Devatas, God is not a good translation for the way we think of God, because the big thing is, people talk about God fearing. We never talk about fearing God, right? God is never feared. God is always loved. So
revered.
it is to, as you know, I also have done some Kriya Yoga in one tradition, and Param Puja Gurudev Pragyananda ji says, when you inhale with love, exhale peace, right? So if every moment you could live with love, and then remember the third eye, right? That's why we wear the bindi, and look at the world with the third eye. Look at it with kindness and compassion, so that your life every minute is filled with joy, filled with that purpose, that you are not here to earn $1 million. As Chinmayananda ji says, $1 million, you'll get it, and then what? Right? You get
Then what?
lost.
Yeah.
So have a greater purpose in life. So have a purpose, and that purpose is, we know our time here is limited, and Hindus always believe there's a comeback. We'll come back here. So make sure that whatever work you do, it is done right, done with love, done with compassion. And I think that is what, to me at least, is to be Hindu. Smile all the time, be happy. There is nothing there that needs to make you unhappy. And to go into Diwali, I think there are beautiful messages there. So first of all, I would say that Diwali actually started in the old days, right after the monsoons. The monsoons were done, so the ponds were filled with water, and there used to be these beautiful lotuses blooming in the ponds. And actually, if you look maybe 5,000 years ago, it was called the Kaumudi Mahotsava. Kaumudi is, the lotus flower which blooms. So you can imagine India, right? Like monsoon is done, how beautiful.
Mm,
Everything is just pretty. And the lotus flower itself is very symbolic, right? Because
yeah.
the lotus flower, lives in muddy waters, but nothing touches the lotus flower. So that is the purpose of life. So in the old days, it was a beautiful celebration right after, the monsoons. People had plenty, water was plenty. So it was a celebration of plenty. I mean, that's where it started.
Abundance. Hmm.
Abundance. And then in that, of course, so it's Diwali is not one festival, it's a bunch of several festivals.
Yeah.
So, and people all over the country worship it in different ways. But at the end of the day, it is to celebrate positivity, right? And pray for everything that you have in life. So if I take, for example, now what has ended up mostly being a 5-day festival for, I would say, in North India. In South India, it's a 1-day festival. In Bengal, it's just Kali Puja. So there are many different variations depending on where you're from. But if you
Right.
take the 5-day festival, right, it starts with Dhanteras, which worships Bhagavan Dhanvantari, who is the god of health. So the first gratitude we give is for our health, very important. Of course, it is said that there was the churning of the ocean, and out of that came, many wonderful things. And of course, the churning of the ocean, right, which is a very interesting story, and we can talk about it sometime. But it's between the good and the evil, and poison and nectar comes out, and good things, all different good things come out. And one of the biggest wonderful things that came out was medicine, and health is the
Right.
most important thing. So we started Dhanteras, and then we move on into Chaudas, which is called,
Sorry, so
yeah,
before you
yeah,
move on, so day one, it's also an ode to Ayurveda.
yes, absolutely, absolutely. And
Because what you're referring to as medicine is really the introduction of Ayurveda, right?
yeah, Bhagwan Dhanvantari is, I mean, there's many stories around that. And, in fact, it is said Shushruta, the first surgeon in the world, studied under Dhanvantari, the god of, and if you see god of Dhanvantari comes with herbs in his hands, right? So they understood how to use, not only the herbs, they actually were very advanced, in their, if you look at, again, I'm not going to go into Ayurveda, but there were techniques there. Surgery was done, cesareans were done, a lot of interesting things. And actually, the surgeries often were done by women, in some of the things we have, seen that as well. So, very, very interesting
This is
stories.
pre-patriarchy, clearly.
Yeah, I do. Again, I don't know what life was, but if you look at early, if I look at, say, for example, the Ramayana, the first version of the Ramayana, the Valmiki version, I'm really impressed with what I see. The women seem to have a lot of rights,
Right.
which I don't.
Pre-patriarchy.
Yeah, really, and I don't know when that got lost. I am not a historian, so I wouldn't say that. But and again, I don't know what the colonial influence, because colonialism, those religions are very, clearly patriarchal. But our initial scriptures don't. We have devis and devatas, right? We are one of those where gods and
Yeah,
goddesses.
we worship women as well, exactly. And
Absolutely,
Diwali
where,
is about goddess Lakshmi.
yeah, or our important portfolios are with female energies, right? Whether
Right.
it is finance, whether it is knowledge with Saraswati, whether it
Right.
is defense with Parvati, right? So all the energy is with, the female energy. I mean, I think it's not anything up or down, right? It's all equal. Like, we don't
Yeah.
think of the body, it's the body, it's male, female, whatever, by a male,
Well,
female, cow,
first
whatever. Yeah.
first we have to acknowledge that there is masculine and feminine in both of us. So
Oh,
once we
yes.
say that and recognize it's 50-50, then it's not about male or female goddess, right?
Yes.
It's just a dominant form of energy, perhaps.
Absolutely. And we all have male and female, exactly. The Ardhanari is a concept we have had for a very long time, So from the beginning of time, we are all half man, half woman in some way,
Right.
So that's
Auntie,
beautiful.
I'm already saying this. I really, really want you to come back on this show because I think we can keep chatting.
I agree with you. Again, you are wonderful. And actually, I want to say that too. I'm so pleased to see that people like you are really looking for the knowledge in a very
Oh.
sincere way. And I'm seeing that more and more. So I think, it is our duty. At least I feel like it's mine to share what I can. And I really feel, the DNA is improving. So you guys, when you learn it, you're going to be really doing much more with it than we ever did, So
I
I hope.
appreciate that. I shared that I'm a life coach. So in my coaching practices, I reference a lot of the wisdom that I've already been raised with and have accumulated it along the way, whether it's, inspired by Hinduism or I've learned, studied Reiki. But I realized at some point that modern day spirituality and Hinduism, they're so similar in
Yeah.
so many ways, right? So when we are talking about these days, people are talking about getting back into your feminine energy. Hinduism and our Hindu gods already did that.
Exactly.
We are talking about, like you said, honoring your divinity. That's what we do in coaching. That's what we do in modern day spirituality. We talk about setting intentions, offering gratitude. Right? You're saying, let's give thanks for our abundance. Let's give thanks to our God. That is now today practice of gratitudes, practice of affirmations, practice of intention setting. So if you see the parallels, I'm definitely not saying, and I don't know, like, did it come from Hinduism? It didn't, but it almost is like this watered down, non religious language that we use because, okay, we don't want to attach a god to it, or we want to neutralize the language so that it's inclusive for every single
Yeah.
religion,
Yeah.
which then begets the next point that perhaps at the core of it, all religions were always the same and they were always
Mm.
one, because the philosophies at the core, foundationally, when we take out the rituals and deeper ideologies, at the core of it, it's all about treating yourself with love and respect and treating others with love and respect, right? So I've just
Absolutely.
been so fascinated by these parallels. I practice it, and now I had a baby. She's 16 months old. As I every holiday comes and I want to teach her, I'm like, okay, well, I need to gather the wisdom as
Yeah,
well and teach her. And I don't want to teach her the watered down effect. If I have the capacity to learn and the
yeah,
interest, I want to teach her things that are as proper or as closer to the roots,
yeah,
because I know with time, anyways, it'll get thinner and thinner and thinner. So
yeah,
if I can reconnect to that roots and gather
yeah.
more information from direct sources and educate myself, then I can share with
Yeah.
her something that's more meaningful,
Yeah.
right?
So beautiful comments. I think you really made some very, very profound comments. And actually, I am not into the new age spirituality as you are. But a couple of things that you said, that the moon, the new moon, the full moon. I mean, these are things we've been talking about all the time. And,
Right.
I think the idea that what is, this concept of religion itself didn't come from India, right? Like the word religion doesn't quite, it's not the same, right? It's not like saying I need to, it's not about following one book. It's about really spirituality. It's about really connecting with the divine. And
Right.
actually, when I'm in interfaith groups, I really find that, I mean, so many of the stories are also really similar, leaving the politics of it aside. So many stories are related, even though there are fundamental differences in the way we think, so I mean,
Yeah.
I think there is certainly that. And for us, and I think as Hindus, it's easy for us to be accepting of multiple opinions and say, hey, but I have my opinion, So, and I
Yeah.
think that I am me, but everybody else can be them, right? And I think that's why this idea of we have so many gods, because everybody is divine, right? Like,
Right.
so, the divinity in you is different from the divinity in me, but I have to respect the divinity in you. And I think the Namaste does that, very
Yeah.
beautifully.
The namaste is God within me bows down to the
To
God
God
within
within
you.
you. Exactly, exactly.
Actually, we started the show with the namaste, so I'm sorry about that. But yeah, you're right.
No.
I think about these things like the
Yeah,
bindi with the third eye. In modern day spirituality, we reference, opening up this eye, and in Reiki, we reference the third eye chakra. And in our culture, we wear bindis, and it's
yeah,
almost like this constant reminder
yeah.
that you have this deeper knowing, and the all knowing resides within you. So,
Yeah,
again,
and
we
not
can
only that, I was just going
keep
to say the red color is supposed to, I don't know Reiki and all that enough, but there are theories that say the red color attracts a lot of positive energy. So I think that's why they
I'm
say
sure.
wear it. And I don't know enough about it to
Yeah.
comment on it. But now the more I'm learning, I mean, there's more research. I mean, of course, we don't believe it unless it comes out of some university, but more and more research is coming out aligning with the way we thought about, just you said gratitude, right? Like that's exactly true. That's all we do all the time.
Right.
Like to God of to everything, to Mother Earth. First, we start with gratitude to nature, Mother Earth, air, fire, water. I mean, there is nothing that we don't express our to the trees, to the mountains. I mean, in Diwali, there's a Govardhan Puja, right? Like very. I don't know if you've heard about it. It is on the
I
fourth
haven't.
day, but I'll tell you this. I mean, it's about the fourth day of the Diwali, where the story is there that Krishna, there in that area, originally people used to worship Indra. Indra is the king, and they used to worship Indra because they were very afraid of him. And Krishna says, no, no, let's not worship him. Let's worship the mountain because Govardhan gives us so much. And they were so afraid to do that. And he said, never worship out of fear. And so anyway, they went and worshipped. And it is said, the rain poured and there were a lot of disasters. And Krishna protected them. So at the
Mm,
end of the day, don't do, worship to cruel people or anything like that. It is to nature, it is to gratitude, and God will support us, So that's a very, very important theme of. So in Diwali, you will see this every day. The themes are so inspiring for life, So,
yeah.
and
So let's get back to it. So we
yeah,
spoke about day one, being an ode to God
Dhanvantari.
Dhanvantari, excuse me. Okay, and we bow down to our health. We give gratitude to our
Yeah,
health. It's the introduction of Ayurveda. What's on day 2?
Day 2 is Naraka Chaturdashi, the 14th. So it's the 13th day, the 14th day, and the Amavasya, right? The 15 days of the lunar calendar. So that's how it starts. So that's another wonderful story. So it is the darkest night. Also, by this time, winter is setting in India. So, the nights are getting shorter. So it's a very dark night, that 14th night when the Amavasya is about to come, the new moon night. And they say it is the greatest time for spirituality. You said that too in your current day spirituality. It is the same thing that they talk about. But on this day, there are two stories that are considered important. In Bengal, it's all worshipping Kali, Mother Kali. And if you look at Mother Kali, she has skulls on her body and severed hands on her, waist, and she's drinking blood, and you go, what is this, right? And then you see what Swami Vivekananda said, right? That if you give your head to Mother Kali, if you give your hands to Mother Kali, your actions and your ego is given to Mother, then there is nothing that can make you fear of anything at all. And if you think about it, right, like she is shown, first of all, Kali just comes from Kal, which is time. What do you fear the most is death, right? Like you're like, oh my God, my time is up, right? And you think it'll be dark and you will go away into a darkness. And if you see that manifest there and you say, take me, Mother, and you protect me, then I think we will have, nothing to fear at all. And in fact, another thing that she does is drinks blood, right? Like, and you go, what is that about? It's actually, very symbolic. There was a demon who, when his blood was spilled on the floor, a new demon would arise. Talking about our desires, when you kill one, there's 10 more that arises, and she drinks it up so that you can have peace. So that is one story. The other one is of Narakasura, who is in fact a child of Mother Earth, who became a very cruel tyrant, and he had a boon that he can only be killed by a woman, and he thought he'll be invincible. So anyway, the story goes that Krishna with his wife Satyabhama went there. Krishna got injured in the battle, and Satyabhama actually killed Narakasura. And at the end, he realized, his arrogance, and he actually asked for a boon for the good of the world. He repented.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this idea that if you repent, Krishna will bless you, And he
Yeah.
said his last boon he asked was that make sure that anybody who bathes, because it happened at before sunrise that he was killed, and Krishna took a bath after the battle, and he said anybody who bathes before sunrise on this day will have all their sins washed away. So make sure of that. So that was such a beautiful thing for this demon, who evil and all that, and you will see that in our scriptures. Nobody is really evil or good or
Evil.
anything. There are many that are more evil than others. And at the end of time, everybody, you realize what a stupid thing I did to be cruel. And so it is about compassion and kindness. And then Lakshmi Puja, right? Like
So
Mahalakshmi.
this is all day 2, these
Date,
stories.
date, date.
So before we even go to the third day, is there like something we should be doing? I
Yeah,
want to also start addressing like
sure.
how does somebody who is on this
Yeah,
spiritually, inclined path,
yeah,
maybe they're having an intimate puja at home.
yeah,
So what could they
yeah.
be doing
So
on
for
this day 1
Dhanvantari,
and day 2?
yeah,
Yeah.
Dhanvantari, I actually, if you look at my Hindu grandma, I have the verse that you have for Bhagwan Dhanvantari. There's a prayer. And in fact, it is said if you pray that in case you have health problems, you do it 108 times, all the health problems go away. That's what they say. And in fact, in South, where I come from, we are a very Ayurveda state. Actually, Kerala, I come from. And so on that day, we make what we call a medicine in honor of Bhagwan Dhanvantari. It's a digestive medicine using certain ingredients like ginger and other things. There's a recipe for it, so you
Okay.
could do that. But
Like a kada.
it's like a kada, but it's a paste. It's like a chavanprash type of thing, more like
Okay.
it's called lehiam. Anyway, immaterial. But Bhagwan Dhanvantari, the mantra is there, so definitely you can worship very simply. Chant that mantra 108 times, or
Can you
if
share it with us?
yeah, it's a long mantra. So, but I would
Okay.
say the shorter version, which you can go online, check out my Hindu grandma for the full version of the mantra.
Sure.
But if not, I was going to say keep it simple. Just say Om Shri Dhanvantaraye Namaha. I bow to Bhagavan Dhanvantari. That's good enough. Om
Om Shri
Shri
Dhanvantariyam
Dhanvantaraye
Nama
Dhan, say
Dhan Dhan
Dhanvantaraye
Van Ta Ra Ye. Okay, there's no M.
Yeah.
Dhanvantariyam. Om
Om
Shri
Shri Dhanvantaraye.
Dhanvantaraye Namaha.
That is it. Say that. So
108 times.
108 times, any three and its multiples is what you can do. If you have time to do it 108 times, great. But most importantly, visualize Bhagavan Dhanvantari. That is important. So he has a pot of nectar in his hand. He has a conch in one hand. He has herbs in one hand and the scripture in one hand. So visualize, and it is said he is the incarnation of Mahavishnu. So
Mm,
definitely think about that. I mean, you can go to the mantra, and as I said, it's online. You can take a look at it, and in my Hindu grandma social media, I have it. But
sure.
definitely do this at least, if nothing, and
Perfect.
that's good enough. So you don't need complicated mantras. If you know Sanskrit well, do them. They're beautiful mantras. I mean, the poetry is so beautiful. It says Amrita Kalasha Hastaya, all of that. It says Amrita Kalasha, that is nectar, pot of nectar, right? But
Mm,
if you do it right, you will really enjoy it. But if not, just say that. And if you don't even feel comfortable with Sanskrit, think of Bhagwan Dhanvantari and bow down to Bhagwan Dhanvantari. That is the most
right.
important thing. And say in English, I bow to you, Bhagwan Dhanvantari is fine. So
Yeah.
the connection is more
So, like,
important.
the way I'm processing this, the simple translation is, visualize, set
Yes.
your intention, give gratitude. And if you have that 5 minutes to sit down and, meditate in the form of mantra chanting, then go ahead and do that. If you have a mala beads, it's generally 108 mala
Yeah.
beads, you can do that. Otherwise, you can use your fingers, or like you said, do it in the forms of three. So this sounds like a 5 to 10 minute thing. I'm sure we all can take
Absolutely.
out that much time to
Yeah.
honor this. And this
Absolutely.
is this is such a fun conversation because something, oh my god, I'm gonna get sidetracked, I'm sorry. Okay, but something that's been kind of poking at me this Diwali season is Diwali is getting so mainstream now. It's getting commercialized, which is nice. It's cool. It's great to walk into a Target and see paper plates. But this is the essence of Diwali.
Yes.
The customs and the rituals, the choti ghar ki puja that you do with your
Yes.
loved ones, the dressing up and the lights and the colors is all like the added bonus. But
Absolutely.
at the core of it, it's like the puja that you're doing with your heart. So,
Absolutely.
for my listeners who I know are on this path, if you want to really honor Diwali, then this is the best episode. You can take these notes and just practice these little things and actually make it special, and then go out and wear the clothes and
Yeah.
have the parties and eat the food and enjoy yourself. That I'm all for that as well, but
Yeah.
I like to strike a balance, and so this is
Yeah.
such helpful
Oh,
information.
great. Don't forget the divinity.
Don't
Party, of
forget the
course.
divinity.
Have fun.
Exactly.
Hindus are allowed to have fun. No problem. Every festival is fun for us. Our God smile all the time. So it's all about fun. So don't
That's
forget.
right.
And on Chaturdashi, what is right to do, like Naraka Surag said,
Day
get up
two.
day two, get up before sunrise. And of course, in India, we put oil massage and all of that. And of course, I come from Ayurveda country, so we have good Ayurvedic coconut oil and all of that. They used to do a lot of stuff. But yeah, just take a bath, and then wash off. And then again, so any prayer, you should, simple prayer,
Take a bath.
say, take a bath, light a lamp, say Om 3 times, very important. Then think about Ganeshji. Just think. You don't have to do any mantra or anything. Think about Ganeshji to remove all your obstacles. Think about Saraswati Mata, that she gives the right words in your mouth. And then Guru, if you have one, definitely think about the Guru. And then if it is Dhanvantari, do Om Maha, Om Shri Dhanvantari Namaha. On the second day, worship after you take a bath, worship Mahavishnu is the Krishna or Vishnu, any Krishna mantra you can say. If not, just say Om Shri Krishnaya Namaha. That's it. Again, 108, whatever, it is up to you. And if you're Bengali and you want to do Kali Puja, right, like that's done at night.
Hmm.
That is more done at night. And again, Kali, again, just Kali Mataya Namaha is Om Shri Kali Mataya Namaha is fine. Of course, you can sing the Durga Saptashati, you can do so many things, but keep it simple, so
Keeping it
that it
simple.
is that, so that people sometimes don't do puja because they think it's complicated.
Yeah,
Keep
it
it
can be
simple.
overwhelming. It's a language. Sometimes it's in
Yeah.
the language with Sanskrit you don't understand, or now with so many mixed marriages, like your situation is opposite for me because I'm a Sindhi. I've married a Tambram, but my Tambram husband doesn't know too many Tamil
Yeah.
rituals. So
Yeah.
I've been also on the journey of learning his rituals and speaking to his parents who are teaching me, but it can get overwhelming because there's too much and you don't know where to begin.
Yeah.
But I do love that about Hinduism, that actually it's not a very strict religion. It's heart based, it's soul based.
Yeah.
It gives you the freedom to do things from your heart.
Yeah.
But some basic things is like cleansing, shower before, setting out the time, taking the intention, and chanting, going inwards. Everything
Absolutely.
is about going inwards and reconnecting with your own divinity, like you
Yeah.
said.
And I would say it doesn't matter what community you come from. Like we come from different community, but at the core, it'll be the same. Yeah, somebody, in the north, people cover their heads. In the south, we don't, and there might be ritualistic differences, but the core prayer is exactly the same. So I
That's
will
right.
say that I'm sure it's the same for you and your husband. I can tell that. And
Yeah.
finally we get to the beautiful, Lakshmi Puja, the
Day
day.
three.
Day three, right? And people, talk about that a lot because they say Lakshmi, money, and
Right.
and
Lakshmi is
actually,
the goddess of wealth, abundance. I say wealth and abundance, health, right?
yeah.
Blessings.
Well, she's actually, there are 8 Lakshmis, there's not just one Lakshmi, as you know. So there is first your heritage. That's the greatest wealth you have, Adi Lakshmi, right? Then you have food. Then you have courage, very important, that's also a
Mm-hmm.
resource. Then you have nature, Gaja Lakshmi. Then you have Santana Lakshmi, children. Then you have Vijay Lakshmi, she that grants success. Then you have Vidya Lakshmi, she that gives you knowledge, your knowledge itself, the greatest resource. And finally, of course, Dhana Lakshmi, wealth. So if you look at Lakshmi itself, the word comes from Lakshya, that is to get to your goal. She that helps you get to your goal. And somebody asked me, we are not materialistic. Why should we ask for money? No, you never ask for money. That's not what you do with Lakshmi. You make sure that you get all the resources. She grants you all the resources that will allow you to attain your potential and really let you connect with the divine. And that's the goal.
Mm,
So, in fact, when we do Lakshmi Puja, we always do Ganesh Puja together. And
yeah.
the reason is wisdom. Ganesha ji gives you the wisdom to ask for the right things and
Hmm.
make sure that you use your wealth in the right way. And that is a very important thing, right? Whatever wealth is. So, in fact, Diwali Day, in addition to having your parties, philanthropy is very important part of every festival, right? To give, in the old days they used to feed, that was a very big part, but giving, you can do it, giving it anyway. You could give it to a food pantry, you could give it to your favorite charity. So giving is a very important part of every festival in Hindu tradition, and especially when Lakshmi Mata is involved. And of course, people also buy gold on this day. This is a actually they buy it on Dhanteras. that
Dhanteras,
is
yeah.
that is the day, and also it's the day that they worship. By the way, they also worship Kubera, who is the keeper of the treasury on Dhanteras also. That's a tradition, so that's done. But Lakshmi, is a very, buy your gold, buy your, good things. In the old days, this was, monsoon had ended. So this was the time people bought things, and gold was obviously a good investment for anything that you had. So people bought at that time. But Lakshmi, and again, when you celebrate Lakshmi, houses lit with lamps, and everything is bright and beautiful. So it's also, like I said, in India it's the time of dark. The days are getting shorter, so people light lamps. It's a very important thing, and it's very symbolic. Lamp itself, like the fact that we can manage fire, is what makes humans different from other people, other animals, right? They don't know how
Hmm.
to manage fire, which is why they just have to spend their day to day eating and doing basic needs. Whereas we have energy, we can do other things, and that's how we have the capacity to use our extra time to connect to God, right? We don't need
Right.
just to graze and find food all the time, right? So that way, fire not only dispels, of course, darkness, but also our mental ignorance, and brings so asatoma sadgamaya, tamasoma jyotirgamaya. It's a very ancient verse that says, take us from untruth to the truth, and
Mm.
from darkness to the light. And what does
To
light
light.
mean? Is to find wisdom. So that's what we would do
Beautiful.
on Lakshmi Puja. And
I
to
have a
a,
few follow-up
yeah, yeah,
questions.
yeah, yeah. Either we can do that, or I can quickly go to the next two quick pujas if you like. But
Okay,
we can,
just two quick
yeah,
questions. So one is on philanthropy.
yeah.
My mom always says, "Ki, if you're gonna donate, like donate apne haath se, donate with your own hands, not just like go online and like PayPal and use your credit card to spend money, but to give food or give something from your hands." Is that
So
true? Is that preferred?
So in the old days, the reason for that was you connected with those who were underprivileged, right? Like if you go and you meet the underprivileged and give it personally, so touching them, and so it's not just you're giving money, you are giving your love. So that
Mm,
was a very big part of that. So if you can do that, You should. Nothing like connecting with people, right? I mean, so I actually am the executive director for Ekal Vidyalaya, which brings education to 100,000 remote rural villages. I can't go there all the time, but when I go, oh my God, the joy I get with connecting with people is amazing. But that doesn't
Right.
mean, you shouldn't do that. So in India, it was in a small community. People were all together. So it was easy to do. And if you can, absolutely, so giving it, don't give it just, oh, I'm so great, I have $1,000 to give, but really, because, and remember, they are giving you the opportunity to
Yeah.
serve. So remember that, don't give it saying you're being kind to give, always, the famous Vaishnava Janata says that mana abhimanana anere, you help, but don't feel proud. In fact, they are giving you a chance, to do good. So that's
Beautiful.
something I would say that, yes.
And then second thing is, can we talk about how to do Lakshmi Puja at home?
Yes. Oh, very. Again,
Okay.
let's simplify it. I mean, there is,
Yes.
big ways to, grand ways to do it. And I was going to say that in case people really find it challenging, go to a temple close by if you have one.
Mm,
Most temples will be doing the puja. You can sit there, you can feel the, impact
the
of the,
vibration.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I would say that. But if not, very simple again. Take a little Lakshmi Murti, and if you don't have one, print an image out of the internet and put it in a little stand and put it out there, right? Light a lamp, put little, tika on, haldi kumkum chandan on it. And again, Om 3 times, pray to Ganeshji, put a Ganeshji Murti also. And the same thing, if you don't have one, print one out and, keep it out there. Say Om 3 times, pray, just think of Ganeshji and ask for your obstacles to be removed. Think of Saraswati Mata. Say that I better do this puja in the right way. Give me the wisdom to do it in the right way. And if you have a guru, definitely pray to the guru. And then again, Om Mahalakshmi Namaha. That's it. Om Mahalakshmi Namaha. Say it 108 times, say it 3 times. And then at the end of that, with the light that you have lit, do a little, what we call an arati.
Aarti.
Just circle it clockwise in front of Mahalakshmi. And the point about that is the energy of the divine will come into that flame and you'll feel the warmth. You touch it and you put it to your eyes, you can feel the warmth and the love of the
Yeah.
divine. And you can offer a little prasad, and if you don't have any at home, because the way we worship our God is like we do everything else in life, we treat them as our favorite guest, right? So, and of course, mithai dena is what we do, right? Like
Right.
we always treat our guests. In the old days, we used to wash their feet, wash their hands. So if you do the full puja, that's what the Pandit will do. You watch, when you go, they say, Padyam Samarpayami, Argyam Samarpayami. Everything is about hospitality, We treat
Mm.
you
It's a good
so well.
perspective.
Exactly. We give you some gifts and we give you some food, very important. So that food that, just take maybe dry fruits that you have at home, anything. If nothing, milk, milk with sugar is a great, or no sugar is fine too, but sugar is, sweet is always offered. Just offer it to God. And then that prasad, it says the divine energy has been infused in there and you take it. So if you have the mithai sweets for Diwali, you can offer it to God and then eat it, and that's it. It's that simple. You can do Lakshmi Puja in 3 minutes. So
And Auntie, you had earlier said, you said, we don't ask Lakshmi ji for money. So when we are praying and we are setting our intentions, what are we asking Lakshmi ji
no,
for?
you can ask her for anything. Okay,
Okay.
she is absolutely available to ask. My point is, it's not just, oh Lakshmi, I love you, give me money, right? Like it's the way you, it's like when you call your grandma, right? Like you are going to say, Nani, I love you and I need this for this purpose. Right? That's I'm thinking, right? Like you're not going to say, hey grandma, Venmo me $200. No, you're not going to
Yeah.
say. So it's somebody very loving to you. So
Yeah, it's like a
it's
loving relationship, so treat it
absolute,
as such. And
absolute.
like you said, you're infusing it with hospitality. God is your guest. God's coming to
Yeah,
your home. So you're going
yeah,
to wash God, you're going to adorn God, you're going to feed God, you're going
absolutely.
to make them feel happy and joyful.
Absolutely. And you should have a loving relationship, right? You can't ask a random person that you don't know for money, right? Like even assuming, but at the end of the day, yes, absolutely. You can ask God for whatever you want because because we are small. God is great. So there's
Yeah.
not like a mother, right? Like, why can't you ask your mother for things? She won't mind at all, right? Like, I can say as a grandma, I'm
Yeah.
happy. In fact, when my child asks me something or my grandchild, I'm very happy to give it. So mother will bless you, but it should be done for the right intentions, and that's the important thing. If you ask your mother for money for a real reason, she'll be very happy to give it to you, right? I mean, just
Yeah.
think of this as your loving mother, loving grandmother,
Mm.
whatever. I'm just putting that out there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
beautiful.
and she would be absolutely, there is nothing wrong in asking God for what you want. There is absolutely nothing wrong, so.
Just breaking down on how simple it can be to do puja at home, I think takes away so much stress and
Yeah,
overwhelm. And now you don't have to spend all that time like running to the store, trying to find a lotus and making this beautiful thali. Like it's nice if you can. It's fun if you want to. It's nice if you have the resources. But I just keep going back to that idea of like in this modern life, we are not in that community.
yeah,
Not everybody around us is practicing Hindu
yeah,
or Indian or doing Diwali. So everything can be challenging. Like
yeah.
I'm already thinking, if I want to get a lotus for my Diwali puja, I have to go to Patel Brothers. It's a 30-minute drive. When am I going to do that? How am I going to fit that into
Yeah,
my work? And it becomes another thing,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
So it's just this reminder that if you have the ability to do it and beautify it, well and good. But if you don't,
Mm.
start by setting the intention, cleansing your space, inviting God in, taking out time, and just sitting and praying.
That's it. That's it.
That's
I mean,
it.
I think the reason to make grand rangolis or decorate your house, that's for people to express their talents, and more power to those that can do it. But and for some people, for me, mantras are very important. Like I like to chant all the time. But then I have other people who are not that into mantras, but love to make rangolis, love to make
Right.
dishes to feed. So
Yeah.
whatever way
Your
you,
own personal calling and
yeah,
connection to it. For me, it's definitely making my house nice as I can, and feeding. I love to cook
yeah.
yummy food for my family. So,
Exactly. I see that with my mother. She loves to cook. I mean, for her, that's the most important thing. Whatever, however you feel, you will, and it's a time to express your artistic talents and creations and everything else.
right.
And, I'm not a very good rangoli maker, for example. And if I stress on, oh my God, I need to have the most beautiful rangoli, I'll be in trouble,
Yeah,
So,
and it's just like leaky energy, right? That's
yeah,
the energy you could be putting towards the thoughts and
yeah,
prayers and pujas and other things that you want to do. So
exactly.
I love just breaking this down because I think anyone listening might give them a sense of relief and help take away some added pressure
Yeah,
that one can feel when they're trying to do the pujas perfectly, aka as in the images that have been shown to us. But
yeah,
before social media, before capitalism, consumerism, Ghar ki puja at home was very small, very simple with a small
yeah.
thali, and that was it. If that,
If that, and again, so again, like when people are doing rangoli, for example, right, it's not about getting the best rangoli, but think about Devi when you're doing the rangoli. Think
right?
about when you're cleaning your house, and anything is a prayer. And that's what I meant by saying every moment live it. So it
Yeah,
is not Swami Chinmayananda used to say, bring your gods out of your puja room. Don't keep them just there. Do your
yeah,
mantras there. It should be everywhere. So the rangoli is not about the rangoli. It's about really offering that, in a beautiful
yeah.
way.
Just aligning mind, body,
Yeah.
and soul with divine.
Yeah,
Okay, day 4.
all right. So day four is Govardhan Puja, right? Like, so in the old days, they used to actually, so there are many ways to do Govardhan Puja. People if you are near Govardhana, the mountain, people actually go worship nature. They offer, lambs and food to Govardhana, the mountain. Some people nowadays, and I think in Gujarat, they do this, where they do annakut, which is they make a mountain out of food, and that's, they make like 1,000 dishes or something like that. So whatever it is. So, but in modern day context, very simply, I would say just worship nature, thank Mother Earth for her presence here, and thank the mountains and the lakes. Just think about it in your heart, and I think that should be good enough. You can just say, to all Mother Earth, most important, Om Prithvyai Namaha is what I would say very simply. And of course, Krishna is worshipped on that day because
Mm.
Krishna is very important. He's the one who, lifted the Govardhana mountain on his one finger, and it was a very big. So Om Shri Krishnaya Namaha is also another. So if you know Krishna bhajans, Achyutam Keshavam, so many people know that song, right? Like, so or play it on, play. That's the other thing. You can play it.
Spotify has everything. YouTube has
And
everything.
play the mantra. I'm sure if
Yep.
you say, I need Krishna, bhajans are very, beautiful.
Yep.
Dance, sing, that's very important. So that's Govardhana Puja. And finally, on the fifth day, it's Bhai Dooj, right? Like, so in the old days, it was the time when the girls went to their mother's house, to meet their brother, because it was a system where the parents lived with the son, and you went, and there was an exchange of gift. I know that people often say sometimes there are only sisters. I have only a sister, right? Like, so you can exchange. It's a family. Come together with the family, express your love for your family. And if you have siblings, I think this is a good day to come together as siblings, exchange gifts, exchange food. In the old days, the lady would make the food and the man would give a gift. So today, of course, everybody cooks, or women are not cooking as much, or men are cooking more. Who knows? So you do you,
You do
but
you.
yeah, but at the same time, definitely, express your love for your family. I think that's it. I like that. So those are the 5 days, and there are, of course, more festivals that are put in there, but they are not as popular anymore. In fact, on the first day, people say, it's Vasubaras, that is, they worship the cow, and there's so many traditions, that are there. And depending on where you are, there are many different traditions. But I think this has come to be the 5 day festival. And in the south, we do, like, your husband will family will only do Naraka Chaturdashi, most likely. So
Yeah, I was surprised when we like met and he was like, we don't really do Diwali. And I said,
yeah.
what? How do you not do Diwali? Like Diwali for me is Christmas. I look forward to it every year, year after
Yeah.
year. I think my parents did such a beautiful job in sharing their culture with us, and I loved it. I was very, and I am very proud to be an Indian girl. And I used to love sharing my culture with even the kids in school back in the 90s. And kuch nahi hota tha. I didn't have like anything. There was no now you get all these kits and stuff to do, but it was
Yeah.
just I would bring a box of mithai, and if I was able to wear an outfit I would, but it was so fun. So yeah, and then when I met my husband, he was like, we don't do the Diwali. But now we've been married 5 years, going on our sixth, and I have introduced Diwali to him, and I'm very happy to say he's fully converted. He loves it
I
as much as me, and he participates in the celebration because he knows it means a lot to me. So it's
Yeah,
nice.
yeah, yeah. And I think that's the thing. I mean, traditions vary. For us, there are other festivals that are more important. Navaratri is very important. They do the Golu, and I don't know if they do it in your,
Yes.
So
Mhm.
that's a much bigger festival for us than Diwali is. And so every place, the traditions. But Diwali is celebrated everywhere, even in your husband's tradition. That Naraka Chaturdashi, that getting up in the morning and taking a bath, is very common everywhere. So that tradition is for there. But this lighting of the lamp, we do it actually in the south. It's done much later in a time called Kartiga, which is done later. So there are different traditions. So, but at the end of the day, Narakasura is also, positivity, positivity, definitely, all of the time.
I love that. I mean, Hinduism is like you said, there's a lot. There's so much to unpack. And something I've been reflecting on more is in my very finite time as a human, I I don't need the university validation and the scientific research to say X, Y, and Z. I would rather trust the innate wisdom that my ancestors have carried for thousands of years before me, because that is thousands of years of wisdom compounded, right? That is passed down to me. And so I understand and I respect that now there's more curiosity and we want to know why. We want proof,
Mm,
right? For
mm,
me, as a spiritual person, my proof is the fact that it feels good. It feels good, and it's helping me connect to my inner divinity and to my God. So it must be good, right? Like I don't need that proof and that evidence, but in our finite time on earth, there's no way we can unpack the big religion and cultures that we come from. It's just not possible to know every single mantra, every single god, every single tradition, every single custom. So I think it's also a journey, right? This relationship that you have with
mm.
your religion and with your culture. So wherever you are on that journey, you can just go a little deeper, right? If
Sure.
you're at the beginning or the middle or wherever it is, like you just go to that next step and let your curiosity lead you, and before you know it you're creating your own traditions, but as long as they are well intentioned and they feel good and you're able to do it, then beautiful.
I love what you said, but I was going to say that I kind of little bit disagree about the finite time of humanity, because for
Okay.
Hindus we're going to come back again. So and it's a continuous journey. I mean, this is the actual truth, right? Like
Yeah.
Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says this, that in fact Arjuna asks, I do all this, and then what if I don't get moksha in this life? He says, don't worry, next life you'll be at a better place where you came.
Right.
So every little thing is never wasted. And remember that you will, it's at least if you believe in art, and I do, obviously it seems right, like where am I going away, the energy is going to come back. So I think in the next life that intention is there. And the other thing I wanted to say is also, when we say that everything is scientific and research, everything that is in Hindu tradition is actually quite researched. It's not, we don't know that research, and the framework might be different. Because if you look at our own scriptures, they've evolved, like vegetarianism became more popular later. And you see the rishis came up and said, hey, I thought about it. And this is what I am saying. So that means they were constantly thinking about it, constantly researching. So this idea that it's not researched is not correct. It's a different framework. I'm not saying that. I mean, we knew that the earth was round before Bhugol, right? Like we were always knew the earth was round before anybody else did. And at that time they'll say, where is the proof that the earth is round, right? Like, so people did think about it a lot. And yes, they didn't go maybe having equipment research, but the meditation, it says that
Yeah.
if you can get into that, you can see way beyond here. And the last thing I will say is, yes, I mean, this is the thing. Hinduism allows you different ways of worship depending on your spiritual level. For the
Mm.
child, put a murti and say that, this is God, that's it. And then if you want to see beyond, you can do more of the mantras, and you will start, as you said, meditating. And meditation is a great, at the end of the day, you have to figure it out yourself. That's what we believe, right? Like you have to meditate, you have to understand it, and it will come, with your face. So even spiritually, whether you're a child or an adult, in your own journey. And the greatest of people, even Swami Vivekananda talks about, how he didn't understand Mother Kali first, and then he came into Mother Kali, right? And the last thing I will say is, people often say, yes, God is infinite, and the spirituality is there. Should I worship? Isn't it good enough to know? And Swami Vivekananda is very clear. He says grace is needed. That's when you will understand more. And so worshiping, gratitude, grace is
Beautiful. Auntie, namaste.
Oh my God.
Thank you so much. Happy Diwali to you and your family, and keep spreading the message and educating us. I'm gonna link and tag everything in the show so
Oh
people
my
can
God.
learn from you. But this was amazing. We have to do this again.
Let's do it again.
Yeah.
I'm so, honored that there are young people like you. You give me hope, that is, you are doing Aasheekaa, that you are doing so much to things, to do more. On one last note, Diwali is actually Deepavali, right? Like
Okay.
string of
Hmm.
lights.
Hmm.
So just wanted to say happy
I
Deepavali.
always say Diwali. I don't know if is that like a North Indian thing, but I always
It is.
grew up
It was. I
hearing
think
Diwali.
there's a lot of. I've heard there's a lot of history to that. So
Uh-huh.
why it was called Diwali. So, but I won't go into that right now. But
Okay.
really, Deepavali is the right word for it, and
All
it
right.
is string of lights. So, and
So
again,
on that note, Shubh Deepavali.
Shubh Deepavali, Mangalam Shubham. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you.